The locker room buzzed with noise, shoes squeaking, lockers clanging, voices laughing, but none of it felt welcoming. Emma hugged her bag to her chest, trying to shrink into the corner, hoping the chaos would pass her by. She had always been quiet, careful, the kind of student who didn't draw attention. But that day, attention found her. A hiss cut sharply through the air. Emma froze, eyes widening as neon green paint sprayed across her bag. Her favorite bag, the one she had saved months for, now ruined in seconds. Two boys leaned against the lockers, smirking, clearly enjoying every second of her horror. One of them nudged the other, whispering something that made them both burst into laughter. Emma's hands shook, gripping the bag tighter, but the spray kept coming, leaving streaks of humiliation in its path. She wanted to scream, to shout, to call someone, anyone, but the words wouldn't come. Panic clawed at her chest. Other students glanced over, unsure whether to step in or look away. Whispers and stifled giggles filled the room, adding insult to the injury. Her face flushed, heart hammering. The smell of paint stung her nose, acrid and sharp, a physical reminder of her embarrassment. One boy laughed so hard he nearly fell over, slapping his knee, enjoying the power he felt over her. Emma's chest tightened, every muscle in her body tense, but inside, something shifted. A spark ignited, tiny at first, flickering behind the fear. She realized she couldn't let this moment define her. Humiliation burned, yes, but anger surged alongside it, a determination that refused to be crushed. For a long moment, she simply stared at the ruined bag. The boys' laughter echoed in her ears, but she didn't flinch. Her mind raced. She had always believed in fairness, in doing the right thing. And right now, right or wrong, she had a choice. Let them win, or fight back in a way they would never forget. As the last streak of green settled across her bag, Emma straightened her back, took a deep breath, and stepped away from the lockers. Her hands still trembled, but her eyes held a resolve that startled even her. Something inside her had changed. The day she became more than just a victim had begun. Emma stormed out of the locker room, the neon green streaks on her bag glaring like a mark of shame. The hallway felt heavier than usual, filled with whispers and stolen glances. Her classmates avoided eye contact, some out of fear, some out of curiosity, but all of it made her feel exposed. Her cheeks burned, a mix of anger and humiliation. She clutched the ruined bag tighter, trying to steady her shaking hands. The laughter from the boys still echoed in her ears, louder than the school bells themselves. In class, the tension followed her. Students shifted uncomfortably in their seats whenever she passed, unsure whether to acknowledge her or pretend they hadn't seen anything. Emma's friends kept their distance, worried about getting caught in the storm of the bullies' wrath. But Emma's mind was racing faster than her pulse. She could ignore it, try to act as if nothing had happened, but deep down, she knew ignoring them meant letting them win, letting them decide how she should feel, how she should react. That night, alone in her room, she sat on her bed, staring at the neon green streaks on her bag. She ran her fingers over the dried paint, each ridge a reminder of the cruelty she had endured. Anger, embarrassment, and frustration swirled inside her. And then, an idea struck, sharp and clear, like a flash of lightning. She grabbed her phone, her fingers trembling as she began documenting every detail of the incident. Every insult, every laugh, every reckless action of the boys. Every detail mattered. Her plan was daring. She would make their actions known to everyone. Carefully, she crafted a post, attaching photos, recounting the incident with precision. She typed their names, their faces, the way they had gloated over her humiliation. Her heart pounded with fear and excitement. What if it went too far? What if there were consequences she hadn't imagined? But Emma's determination overpowered her fear. She posted it. Within moments, her phone buzzed with notifications. Likes, shares, and comments flooded in. Support, empathy, outrage, all pouring in from people she didn't even know. Emma leaned back on her bed, staring at the screen in disbelief. She had taken control. The bullies' power, their laughter, their arrogance, it no longer had a hold over her. For the first time that day, she felt a spark of justice, a sense that maybe, just maybe, she could turn this humiliation into something more. By the next morning, Emma's post had taken on a life of its own. Her phone vibrated nonstop, a relentless tide of notifications. Shares, comments, and messages poured in from people all over, friends, classmates, even strangers. People were outraged, sympathetic, inspired. The bully's smirks had been replaced by shocked disbelief, but Emma hadn't expected this level of response. She watched as the story spread, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The power she had felt slipping away in the locker room was suddenly back, magnified beyond her imagination. The boys woke up to chaos. Phones buzzed, notifications piling up with mentions of their actions. Their parents called the school, demanding explanations. Administrators summoned them, their once cocky expressions now replaced by nervous glances and stammered excuses. The hallway that had echoed with their laughter just a day ago now held silence whenever they appeared. The students who had laughed with them now turned away, shame replacing amusement. Emma felt a thrill. Justice, however digital, had found its way. And then, a twist arrived. One of the boys' friends, oblivious to the growing storm, posted a video online, a recording he hadn't meant anyone to see. It showed the boys planning the attack, laughing, mocking, and boasting about ruining Emma's bag. The evidence was irrefutable. What had been her word alone now had visual proof backing it, proving that she had been telling the truth all along. Shockwaves spread through the school. Teachers, students, even parents were stunned. The balance of power had shifted completely, and the boys' world was crumbling around them. Emma watched it all unfold, a strange mix of satisfaction and disbelief swirling inside her. She hadn't sought revenge for the sake of cruelty. She had wanted to reclaim her story. And now, not only had she done that, but the truth had exposed the bully's recklessness to everyone. It was more than she had hoped for. Her friends reached out, offering hugs and support, finally seeing her strength firsthand. The digital world had become her ally, a weapon she had wielded carefully but decisively. In that moment, Emma realized the power of her own voice. One small action, posting the truth, had changed everything. The bullies were no longer untouchable, her humiliation no longer hers alone. She had sparked a ripple of accountability, a lesson in courage, and the world, for the first time, was watching her rise. The next morning, the school hallway felt different. Emma walked with her bag slung over her shoulder, the faint green streaks still visible, a badge of defiance rather than shame. Every step echoed, not with fear, but with quiet confidence. The bullies spotted her from across the hall, their eyes widening as they realized that the power they once wielded so effortlessly was gone. The whispers followed her, but they no longer carried judgment. They carried admiration, curiosity, and respect. Emma had shifted the balance, and everyone could feel it. One of the boys finally approached, his hands fidgeting, voice barely above a whisper. We didn't think it would get this far," he stammered. Emma stopped and turned, looking him squarely in the eye. The anger she had felt in the locker room still lingered, but it no longer controlled her. Part of her wanted to unleash every ounce of fury, to make him feel the humiliation she had endured. But instead, she took a deep breath, letting her resolve speak louder than her temper. "Actions have consequences," she said, calm but firm. "Now you know what it feels like to cross the line." The hallway seemed to hold its breath. Other students watched silently, the tension thick and palpable. Even the boys' friends avoided eye contact, shame etched across their faces. Emma realized that the moment wasn't about revenge, it was about accountability. She didn't need to humiliate them further. The exposure, the truth, and their own conscience were doing that already. For the first time, the boys seemed small, powerless. Their smirks had vanished, replaced by awkward, guilty expressions. And Emma, standing tall, realized how far she had come from the terrified girl clutching her bag just days ago. She wasn't defined by their cruelty. She had reclaimed her story, her dignity, and, most importantly, her voice. In that moment, the twist was complete. Not a revenge born from anger, but a triumph born from courage. Emma didn't need to shout or strike back. The world had seen the truth. And in the silence of the hallway, a powerful lesson hung in the air. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it simply walks tall, unshaken, and undeniable. Emma's eyes met those of her classmates, silently conveying what she had learned. That strength comes not from force, but from standing firm when it matters most. Weeks passed, But Emma's story didn't fade, it grew. The post that had started as a personal act of courage had become a movement of its own. Students began speaking up about bullying, teachers implemented stricter anti-bullying policies, and the school culture started to shift. The boys faced consequences, both online and offline, and the weight of their actions settled heavily on their shoulders. But Emma didn't celebrate their downfall. Her victory was quiet, measured, and powerful. She had turned humiliation into strength, fear into courage, and cruelty into a lesson for everyone who had witnessed it. Emma looked down at her bag, the faint green streaks still visible, like scars that told a story of resilience. Every mark reminded her of the moment she could have let fear dominate, of the seconds she could have allowed silence to win. But she hadn't. She had acted, spoken, and reclaimed her narrative. The experience had changed her, not into someone who sought revenge, but into someone who understood the true power of a voice used wisely. Friends approached her, sharing their own experiences, their own fears, and their own stories of injustice. Emma listened, comforted, and encouraged. She realized that her courage had inspired others to speak up, to stand tall, and to take control of their own lives. The ripple she had created was far bigger than the locker room, the spray paint, or the boys' laughter. It was a lesson in empowerment, proof that one voice, one act of bravery, could ignite change. In the quiet moments, Emma reflected on what she had learned. The world could throw insults, paint, or cruelty at you. It could try to define you, to humiliate you, to break your spirit. But the choice of how to respond, whether to cower or rise, always remained yours. Her story was not just about her bag or the boys who ruined it. It was about reclaiming power, standing firm, and refusing to be silenced. And to anyone watching this story, Emma's message was clear, resonant, and unforgettable. Don't let anyone erase your story. Stand tall. Speak out. Let your courage be louder than their cruelty. The world notices those who refuse to be silenced, and your strength can inspire more than you ever imagined. As she walked through the school halls one last time, her bag a symbol of resilience, she knew she hadn't just survived. She had risen. And in that rising, she had shown the world the true meaning of strength.